Good day. Good day, fellows and fillets. How art thou? Welcome to my channel of reading, where I read to you. Frankenstein Part 2. We sat late, listening to his complaints and making many little arrangements for the future. The next morning early I departed. Tears gushed from the eyes of Elizabeth. They proceeded partly from sorrow at my departure, and partly because she reflected that the same journey was to have taken place 3 months before, when a mother's blessing would have accompanied me. Going out without the mother's blessing, she does not like that. She does not like that. Boy, no, I guess no one might want that. I threw myself into the chassis. I almost said chase, it's chassis. I threw myself into the chassis that was so convey me away. Wow, I gotta stop staring into this light. I'm messing up my letters here. I threw myself into the chassis that was to convey me away, and indulged in the most melancholy reflections. I, who had ever been surrounded by amiable companions, continually engaged in endeavoring to bestow mutual pleasure. I was now alone. Alone, I'm all alone. Jesus. In the university whither I was going, I must form my own friends and be my own protector. My life had hitherto been remarkably secluded and domestic, and this had given me invincible repugnance to new continents. Just fucking can't figure that word out. I loved my brothers Elizabeth and Clerval. These were old familiar faces, quote unquote, old familiar faces, but I believed myself totally unfit for the company of strangers. Unfit. Such were my reflections as I commenced my journey, but as I proceeded, my spirits and hopes rose. I ardently desired the acquisition. Why the fuck? Oh god, this is terrible. Acquisition of knowledge. I had often, when at home, thought it hard to remain during my youth cooped up in one place, and had longed to enter the world and take my station among other human beings. What is your station? Where is your station at? Do you see yourself at a station? Who knows? Now, my desires were complied with, and it would, indeed, have been folly to repent. I had sufficient leisure for these and many other reflections during my journey to Ingolstadt, which was long and fatiguing. At length the high white steeple of the town met my eyes. I alighted and was conducted to my solitary apartment to spend the evening as I pleased. The next morning I delivered my letters of introduction and paid a visit to some of the principal professors, and among others to M. Crimpa, professor of natural physiology, philosophy. He received me with politeness. How do? Polite to you. And asked me several questions concerning my progress in the different branches of science appertaining, I guess to natural philosophy. I mentioned It is true, with fear and trembling, the authors I had ever read upon these subjects, the professor stared. Have you, quote unquote, he said, really spent your time in the studying such nonsense? Well, that's crazy. The nonsense. The guy looks him in the eye and is like, oh my God. I replied in the affirmative. Affirmative. Every minute. Continued M. Crimpa with warmth. Every instant that... Wait, who just said that? Wait. Every minute. Hey, that's not nice. Hey. I'm reading. Don't growl out the window. Every minute, continue Min Crimpa with warmth. Every instant that you have wasted on those books is utterly and entirely lost. You have burdened your memory with exploded systems and useless names. Good God, in what desert land have you lived where no one was kind enough to inform you that these fantasies which you have so greedily imbibed are 1,000 years old, and as musty as they are ancient? I little expected this in this enlightened and scientific age to find a disciple of Albus Magnus and Paracelsus. My dear sir, you must begin your studies entirely anew. So saying, he stepped aside and wrote down a list of several books treating of natural philosophy which he desired me to procure, and dismissed me. After mentioning that, in the beginning of the following week, he intended to commence a course of lectures upon natural philosophy in its general relation, and that M. Walden, a fellow professor, would lecture upon chemistry the alternate days that he missed. I returned home not disappointed, for I have long considered those authors unless whom the professor had so strongly reprobated. But I did not feel much inclined to study the books which I procured at his recommendation. M. Crimpa, it's M. Crimpa, was a little squat man with a gruff voice and repulsive countenance. The teacher, therefore, did not prepossess me in favor of his doctrine. He did not prepossess me in favor of his doctrine. Did not. Beside, I had a contempt for the use of modern natural philosophy. It was very different. When the masters of the science saw immortality and power, such views, although futile, were grand. But now the scene was changed. The ambition of the inquirer seemed to limit itself to the annihilation of those visions on which my interest in science was chiefly founded. I was required to exchange chimeras of boundless grandeur for realities of little worth. Such were my reflections during the first 2 or 3 days spent almost in solitude. But as the ensuing week commenced, I thought of the information which M. Crimpa, whom I had given concerning the lectures. And although I had not consented to go and hear that little conceited fellow deliver sentences out of a pulpit, I recollected what he had said of M. Walden, whom I had never seen, as he had hitherto been out of town. He had hitherto been out of town. He had hitherto been out of town. Wow. Wow. How much more? Oh, wow. We have enough to do a part 3. I think we shall. Today has been just... wow. Hitherto from thee. That guy must be from there far. Not hither, but thither. Wow. Anyway, let's get to part 3.